You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
We're talking with Curtis Wright, one-on-one this morning. So there was a libel lawsuit while you were on the air, filed against CCOM, and I think it was against you as well, by he was running for state Republican Party leader, and he eventually won that position. And he alleged libel in the lawsuit. The suit was because of an email that you sent out? Was that?
Well, first, there was no legal basis for it. He was just upset because of these rumors had been out there. By the way, they've been out there since long before he was mayor of Raleigh. These rumors have been out there. There have been discussions openly in public about them. They were on blogs for months. I received a copy of a letter and a copy of the actual
So you weren't the author, you just forwarded it?
No, it was an anonymous letter, and it had the actual copy of the envelope, and it had already been sent and received by the officers of the North Carolina GOP. My email only said this: please see attached, will you comment on this? This is a very serious issue. What are your plans? He then thought, because I sent that back to those people in some way, I distributed that. All of them were officers of the GOP. It was already out there. I was doing what any news person would do. Hey, this is out there. You've received it through U.S. mail. We want a
And that was the body of the email. Here's something
That's
I
it.
received.
That was my email.
Would you comment on it?
Would you comment on this letter attached that's been received? And ultimately, what was sad about that situation was that my lawyer and myself, a very experienced lawyer, a U.S. attorney for almost 2 decades, we weren't allowed to do anything about it. I had written a letter 2 weeks after Tom had threatened a lawsuit. I put a letter together of apology saying, I hope, the letter that ultimately settled the case. I had drafted that 2 weeks before he filed his lawsuit, 2 weeks after he threatened the lawsuit.
Why did you
I wasn't allowed to give it to him.
No, why did you put the letter together?
Because I thought, let's just get this out of the way right now. If he's upset about it, let's just, get this settled. It was that letter I wrote 6 months or 4 months earlier.
And that was what the court...
That settled it. No, he accepted that and said, no problem. And within 48 hours, it went away. Sadly, we could have done that, but Paul Knight, the general manager, wouldn't allow me to give him that letter.
Did you support him as the candidate for the chair of the Republican Party?
Well, I didn't vote for anybody.
No,
I had.
But your support means means a lot.
Well, my support was I had had a relationship for 2.5 years with Marcus Kinley, who had run before.
So you weren't supporting Fetzer?
And I wasn't supporting Fetzer. I think that was part of it. He was upset about that. Why aren't you supporting me? But I had had him on the show. We had great interviews, actually. That's what my letter said.
Is that after or before?
Before. Before. He and I had a great interview, I think twice, before this all happened. So it was kind of a sad situation. I believe it could have been diffused if I had been allowed to do what I knew I needed to do.
Which was?
Give him that letter.
A letter of apology
long
before the lawsuit was initiated?
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to do that.
Why would you apologize for something?
My apology was, I'm sorry if by doing this, by sending this and asking these questions in some way made you feel that I thought it was true. That's what my letter says that settled the lawsuit. That's how I felt. I mean, Tom, why didn't you just call me up?
Well, did you have indication that he thought it was true? Or
I think this issue was, I think
this was before
behind the
scenes.
The court. I think what the issue is here, that these rumors have been around for a long time. They're all over the internet. They've been there for years. I think that was the sensitive issue, and somehow he thought I was jumping on that bandwagon, which, of course, my letter said to him, no, I wasn't jumping on that bandwagon at all. I was merely asking questions.
How did you know he was unhappy?
He didn't contact me.
Well, how did you know?
He just sent a letter and threatened a lawsuit.
Oh, he threatened a lawsuit, and then you wrote the apology.
I had the apology ready to go. I was not allowed to give it to him.
But why did you write the apology? You didn't know he was unhappy. Why would you write an apology?
I didn't know he was unhappy until he sent the letter.
But you had the apology before that. Why
No, I didn't. No, not before the letter.
Oh, so you knew he was unhappy and you wrote the apology.
Once I knew he was unhappy, I was ready to give him the letter, but I wasn't allowed to. So I could have been all gone away.
Okay.
And here's the other side of it. You have the leading person at this sensitive time for the GOP, both statewide and nationally, who's being accused of something. It's now out in the open. It's a public letter. was sent by U.S. mail and distributed and put on the internet long before I said anything. What would that, my question was merely, do you have a strategy? What are you going to do about this? Because what would have happened if that letter, there were threats in the letter. I didn't discuss anything in the letter, but there were threats in the letter to the GOP and to Tom Fetzer. What happens if
Did you know the author of the letter?
No.
Okay. Let's move on, because I want to talk to you about the climate in the country and get your barometer and your take on that. There's a political divide in the country. I don't know if there's always been, and the media just has hyped it more, but you think it's healthy?
Do I think it's healthy? I think it's a long time coming. I believe in this country that people getting involved, getting out in the historic numbers that they have and the historic amount of times they have to be involved in this public debate is healthy. Our founding fathers, by the way, let's go back to 1765 in Wilmington, where it all started, here, right in our hometown. People getting involved. How can that be bad for democracy? How can that be bad for the republic? How can that be bad for public debate?
Well, it depends on how you get involved. If you get involved and it becomes a mob.
Are they a mob?
I'm not saying
no,
characterize
but they're
it
not.
like that. There have been mobs that have been incited by political issues, and that's sort of my question.
I think that for us in Wilmington, what a great to use what you're trying to ask me. Let's use an example. Look at 1898, sad part of our history. Look at the wonderful, positive, respectful protests that have taken place here on the other side.
Absolutely.
Our Tea Party last year,
Absolutely.
1,200 people on the steps of the Federal Building. Families, kids, people, no violence, people, think about the difference between the two. Tell me how that can't be healthy.
On the national scene, there's been threats, there's been, is that healthy? Is that productive?
But those threats aren't coming from that group or the
Oh, I don't know
people.
who it's coming from, but I'm not.
Are those healthy? No, threats against any side are certainly not healthy. But I don't think you would find that those threats are coming from the people that have been involved for the last year, the masses, I should say, in wanting, in protesting against what they believe is the overreach of government.
We'll take a break.
Okay.
We'll come back. We got a lot more to talk about with Curtis Wright, our guest. Stay with us.